Hey, this is JC and welcome to Small Brick City. In this video, I'll be sharing my remake of a classic set 376 Townhouse with a Garden. This set was released in 1978 and is the first year that minifigs were introduced. So this is a 40th anniversary celebration of that event. I have remade several classic Lego sets in the past, and my philosophy and approach is always the same. I view this as a modern reinterpretation of the build and not just a replication. Because if I was just going to recreate the entire set brick for brick, I don't think there's much artistic merit or value, and it's really just for historical significance or just to have that particular set. My goal is to give a remake, so that means updating it, using modern build techniques, using bricks and parts which are not present before, and basically giving my own creative spin on it so that it looks really modern and it's relevant for today's audience. For this remake, I kept to basically the same proportions, size and layout as the original. The size of the base plates are the same, so the footprint of this build is exactly the same. I also kept the hinging design and feature of this build, and I think for 1978 this is a very sophisticated design because it really looks good as a complete house when it's closed up like this, and looks equally good when it's opened up fully, whether viewed from the front or the back. One of the major changes that you'll see are the colors which I inverted for the roof and the walls of the house. The original has a blue roof and red walls. I switched them around for two reasons. One reason is I think it actually looks better with a red roof, and many of the modern day creator sets have a red roof and blue walls. The other reason is I simply didn't have enough red bricks to create a nicely textured wall, so I switched the colors around. You notice that the colors are also much darker and they're richer, and the reason is I think this color palette is important for today's modern audience. The original colors are a bit too bright and look too much like a toy. Every time I do a remake and I think about the colors to be used, I think of the superhero remakes in movies. The superheroes portrayed in movies and television in the 1960s and 70s had very colorful and distinct cartoony looking costumes. Colors were bright, very outrageous, and basically was a direct translation from the comics most times. But if you look at the remakes in recent years, say 10 or 15 years, all the superhero costumes are very rich in design, in texture, and the color palette is not so colorful. It's much deeper tones and darker tones. And that's, well, just to make it look more gritty and cool. And I think the same can be applied to Lego, which is why I used these colors. I changed the tree in front. The original tree was a prefab tree, kind of a pine tree, just like this one. But I didn't want that because I felt it needed to look more detailed, so I built a brick-built one. And I think it's more realistic in creating shade for the minifig who's resting underneath with his sun chair. And you can kind of turn it, and this was actually my original design. It should directly cover him. I didn't do that at the start so that you could get a clear view of the house. But for purposes of this video, I will remove this so that we can really see all the details of the front facade of the house. Let's talk about the minifigs. I kept to the same color scheme for the minifigs, but I did update them in terms of the colors. I used printed torsos. For the lady, I changed the headpiece, well, every piece basically, but I kept to the same blue and red tones, but changed the color palette as well. For the guy, he was in black and blue. Once again, change it to a modern print top with dark blue pants and a maroon hat. The furniture in front was also updated. This is a design of a beach chair, which I actually share in a separate tutorial, and I changed up the colors to reflect the yellow, which is in the original build, but I made it red and white just to give a bit more texture. These are outdoor patio furniture, and I redesigned it so it didn't look so bricky and blocky. There's also a fireplace, or outdoor fireplace. I rebuilt it in my own design. Nothing drastically different, but again a bit more design with the use of these modified plates with bars, some round studs, round bricks, and overall some modified bricks here as well, just so that it looks a bit more textured. I also added some dark tan plates over here, so it looks like the fireplace is built on kind of a sandy surface, because if it was built on the grass directly, it would burn the grass, or you should actually see, I guess, soot or black stains on the grass. A nice little shovel here, and that's to clear the fireplace if needed. And I also added this brick built lamppost, which is one piece in itself, which I'll just remove here. Now I built it solid in the sense, at least this entire shaft here is solid because I've got a rod going through. If not, it's very easy to break apart, especially when something is top heavy like this. So that's a very classic looking mailbox, and I think fits this set very well. For the texturing of the ground, let's talk about the grass first. This is built on 2 green base plates. These base plates are lighter in color than the original, but I added in many individual flower studs, both in the dark color and the light color. Again, this is to give 3D texture to the surface, and it also looks like a bit of grass that is either overgrown or hasn't been mowed recently. I added this darker green plate over here and smaller plates and studs around, again to reflect the fact that it's under the tree. So technically it's, you know, under more shade, so it's under more shade, you're going to get a darker looking grass. So that was to reflect that, again to give more detail. Some flowers all around, because the original build did have flowers. I added footpaths, and these are kind of cobblestone footpaths, but with different shapes and colors, using both 2x2 round tiles and a 1 stud round tile. Well, technically not 2x2 since it's a circle, but these 2 stud white round tiles. And I have both of them, one coming from this back or side entrance, depending on the perspective of how you're looking at the model, and one for the front, which goes to a nice doormat. You can see a bit of flowers underneath. This was to just go all around the house to give it a nice give it nice color overall, and I chose to keep it all one solid color here, and that's yellow around the sides and the back, but for the front I alternated colors just to make it more interesting. If you notice, I also alternated the heights of the shrubs in this flower bed along the wall. So the alternating ones, well, one is taller and one is shorter. Basically I've just added an additional brown stud to the taller ones. This makes it visually much more interesting. If you're just to have just all of them the same height, it gets quite boring, especially when they're the same color. But by alternating the heights and also adding in these plant parts, it really breaks up the look of these shrubs so it doesn't look so uniform. On this side of the wall over here, you can see a bit of flowers, more grass parts, and on the wall I do have this plant patch as though it's a wall creeper growing up on the wall. Another thing I like to point out are these window awnings. The original used slope pieces which were 6 studs wide with a sticker on top to create that different colored look. I didn't have the stickers obviously, and I also didn't have those 6 stud wide slope pieces, so I used individual pieces. That's a 2 stud wide slope, and these are 1 stud wide slopes, but different colors to give that textured look. So overall, I think I've captured the look for this exterior, but really updated it and made it modern. What do you think? Let me know in the comments. Now let's turn it around to have a look at the inside. I kept to the same layout for the interior as well. I did add some floorboards just to make it covered and look more finished. Let's start with this side. This is the main door where you come in. It's a tiny kitchen. I redid the look of the sink, and I also added a little cabinet with some towels on top. I gave a very modern looking table and chair setup, and in fact for this table I kind of offset it by using jumper plates here so that I could center it within the space that was allocated for the chairs and the table. I did take out the flowers which are on the table because I think this build had enough flowers, and I changed it to a coffee cup and a bowl of cereal. On this side, which is the default living room, I changed the TV to a modern flat screen one. There's a remote control, a TV console, a bench. I kept to the same look of a stool, a coffee table and a chair, but of course made them more modern. I added this ceiling light, which I think looks pretty good and fits very well with the design of this sloped roof. And over here I've got a clock. Nothing really special about the clock, but one thing I did do was basically use a modified brick with two studs, one stud in front and one stud behind. So the same brick holds this clock decorated tile as well as this plant part over here. And this plant stem part basically is just to hold this plant piece in place so it doesn't fall out so easily. But basically what I'm trying to show is economy of usage of bricks. One brick holds two parts from the inside and outside, but you won't be able to tell from either side if you're just looking at one side. Overall, I'm very happy with this remake. I think that I captured the essence of the original build, but I did update it and I'm pretty satisfied with it. One interesting fact, I didn't look at the instructions when I did this remake. In fact, when I do all my remakes, I do not look at instructions. I only look at photos and I look at video reviews to get a sense of how the different parts look like and what the overall build looks like. Then I just interpret it myself. Personally, I find this works best for me because it allows me to have enough room for my own creativity to come in order to do the build. If I were to look at the instructions, I might be biased to how it comes together or what parts are used. In this way, I can use my own imagination and my own interpretation to put it together, yet rely on the photos and videos as visual reference in order to ensure that I'm following the original design or keeping to the essence of the build. I hope you enjoyed this video on my remake of the classic 376 set townhouse with a garden. What do you think of the remake? Do you think I did justice and captured the essence of the build? Let me know in the comments. I'm thinking of doing a video in the near future where I discuss creating Lego MOCs through remakes. What do you think of that idea, and is that something you'd like to know? Basically, I'll discuss how I approach remakes and how you can start your own remake in order to make it your own and create a MOC out of an existing set. Let me know what you think about this in the comments. If you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up, and if you haven't, please subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on unique Lego content. Thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you soon.